I got a chance to check out the latest episode of the Modern Wisdom podcast and YouTube channel. Chris Williamson is the host of that channel, and his latest guest was Chris Bumstead. Chris Bumstead, if you don't know who he is, he's a very well known, very successful Canadian bodybuilder. He is the classic physique champion. I forget how many years running now. I think five, maybe six, or he might be going for number six this year. Uh, Really cool, amazing person. Seems like a really smart, kind dude. And they had a nice, long conversation. They talked about a lot of different topics, everything from obviously bodybuilding and sort of fitness and nutrition, but a lot of things just across the board in terms of mindset, mentality, challenges, everything that comes along with just growing up and going through trials and difficult things and pursuing goals and all of it. And one specific thing that came up that I really felt connected to was the whole topic of masculine and feminine and how it exists in both men and women. And I connected to it a lot simply because looking at Chris Bumstead as an example, and I think he kind of illustrated it well, he fits the bill in a lot of ways in what people would consider a traditional male figure. Physically, and in a lot of ways, how he carries himself, he's protective of his family, all these things that we attribute to masculinity. But he's also very honest and transparent and open about his difficulties and him being emotional and sensitive to things, and reflecting on the fact that he is a little bit quiet and maybe introverted, if you want to categorize it that way. um, you know he has characteristics that some would consider is more typically feminine. But he is a complete person, and he's doing extremely well in his life and in sort of the goal and the career path he's chosen, because he's also kind of found a way to really be okay with who he is fully. This is something that I feel like a lot of people watching this, if you come across this, you might identify with this. It's just right now there's this sort of climate where everybody keeps looking at things in a very specific way. This is a man, this is a woman, this is masculine, this is feminine. And I mean, in certain ways, I'm not denying it. I agree. I understand. And there are traits both men and women have that are a little more inborn and natural, and it works to their strengths, both physical, mental, and spiritual. But we are a mix of both. And like for myself, I identify a lot with that. Like I consider myself to be a sensitive person. I'm very emotional, I guess, in a way, because I feel deeply. Certain things, certain topics, when I think about it and I sit with it, they'll either move me happily, move me in a very joyful way, or if it's a topic that's really sad and troubling, it'll move me in a sad way. But I am somebody who's very sort of receptive that way, I guess. I'm not very rigid in a way where I can be like, nah, this doesn't bother me. No, if it's bothering me, it'll show. I don't do well putting on a poker face. Sometimes, and I've had this conversation with myself, because when you're younger, you kind of go through these times and situations where you're like, I don't feel like man, I'm not tough. I'm not this. I'm not that. Whatever it is that you keep trying to sort of tell yourself that you need to be, right? And whether you're a guy or a girl, right? Like there are some girls that are what we consider a tomboy, I guess, right? They're more playful, more boisterous into sports, all these things that we might consider is a typically masculine thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I were to tap into a perfect example, it's my mom. My mom is a very determined, disciplined, persistent, tough lady. She is. That's just her personality. That is her makeup. It's just how she carries herself. It doesn't mean she's not feminine. It doesn't mean she's not a mom. She carries herself well. She cares about how she looks. She dresses, stylishly in whatever way she wants to. I mean, she raised me and my brother like any other mom would, nurturing us, caring for us. Her brand is a little unique, but it's kind of very short-sighted and very narrow when we keep trying to box everything in and packaging it as this is this, this is that, this is masculine, this is feminine. It's far more nuanced and far more complicated than that. It's really great to see somebody like Chris Bumstead, who has the platform, who's actually able to sort of leverage, his career and the impact he's had, and sort of take it from fitness to really that next level, which is to just kind of share in his journey and experience. And that's really what it is, right? We all connect so much with each other when we hear sort of their situation, their story, their truth, and we see if that resonates in a lot of ways. And at the very least, even if it doesn't resonate, you can respect it and you can appreciate it and acknowledge it, because it's somebody just being honest and truthful about what they're going through and what they're like, and whatever it is. Anybody watching this, if you're in a situation, and maybe this is even something that might affect you if you're probably in your younger years, right? Maybe in your late teens, your adolescence, you're starting out in your 20s, whatever. Because I remember going through all that time. It was tough. It was tough. You're just trying to fit in and figure yourself out. You're trying to figure out who you are, what you like, how what are the characteristics that are really yours, and what are the things that you're sort of trying to incorporate and learn and do to fit in. So it's difficult, right? It's not easy. Consider the fact that you are complex, you are unique, you've got a mix of everything. Figure out whatever that is, and that's totally fine, right? You'll figure things out for yourself. You'll figure out what exactly fits for you, what exactly works for you. Don't put yourself, down or be hard on yourself by saying like, man, I'm not tough, I'm not a man, or like, oh, I'm not feminine because I'm not this. We've all got both in us. A man can cry, a woman can be tough and fight. Right? Like we're both. We step in and out of each other's sort of spaces and roles in some ways, especially in a family, especially when you're running your own family, you've begun your own family. Everybody's always just stepping in to help each other out. Sometimes you need to help out in ways where your partner might be helping out, and vice versa. That doesn't make you any less of whatever you are. If you go through this kind of thing, or if this topic is something that you might even be grappling with, you're fine. Or you're going to be fine. You are who you are. Focus on your sort of core values and core characteristics, and keep improving yourself and keep building yourself up.